Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is the last event of the series Sensory Journeys, a series that promotes local businesses, Romanian food and wine, and Irina Georgescu, Carpathia. I am the executive director of the American Romanian Cultural Society, and we founded this organization with my friend here, Ileana Marin, who's in the audience. Hi, Ileana. In 2013, and our signature event is the Romanian Film Festival. We are very happy to finish the year with an event that is gonna talk a little bit about Romanian winter traditions and yummy foods that we make in our houses to get ready for the end of the year. And I'm happy and honored to have here three special guests, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. So Irina Georgescu, who is the author of Carpathia from the UK, Teodora Baba, who is a wine distributor from Washington State. She lives in Spokane, and executive chef Daisley Gordon, who's also owner of Café Campagne. So hi, Irina, would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Hi, everyone. Yes, thank you. So I wrote this book, Carpathia, from the heart of Romania. I write and promote Romanian cuisine in the UK, and I live in Wales. And today, I would like to talk a little bit about traditional foods at Christmas in Romania and dishes. And I will also show you how to assemble sarmale, our national dish.
Okay, thank you. Teodora, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So this is Teodora. I am the importer and distributor of Romanian wines in Washington State. I started my business on my own for ground up. So it is a small women power business that I built on my own. My company is based, I live in Spokane, Washington, but my company is actually based in Seattle. So I do commute between Spokane and Seattle. Something that I truly enjoy about my business is that through wine, I can also share a little bit about my culture with people.
Yeah. Thank you, Teodora. Excellent. Okay, Daisley, would you like to say a few words about yourself?
I would be happy to. I'm Daisley Gordon. I'm the executive chef and owner of Café Campagne, located in the Pike Place Market. We're at 1600 Post Alley at the corner of Pine and Post Alley. The Café Campagne has been here for since 1994. My connection to arts is through my wife and her friendship with the whole gang, and I was excited to sort of be brought into the understanding of the connection with French food and Romanian cuisine. And so there are lots of crossovers, and so I'm excited to be invited to participate and to show our little Café Campagne take on one of these fantastic dishes. I think I've been the executive chef and owner since 2000. I worked here before that since 1995. I've been very fortunate to be at this place for a long time, and the third owner, small business guy, being supported very well by his fantastic team and getting ourselves through these challenging times. But I'm loving all that I'm learning about Romanian food and the Carpathian cuisine, and I'm excited to be a part of it. So thank you for having me, and I look forward to sharing this dish with you.
Thank you, Daisley. Excellent. Okay, so back to Irina, who's gonna tell us a little bit more from the UK, where she lives. She left Romania, I think, 10 years ago, right? Or more than that to...
yes, more than 10 years,
yeah. And her home now, her second home, is the UK, where she decided to be a food writer. And I was talking to her that actually writing books about food is not a very Romanian tradition. This is fairly new. And she did an excellent job writing this book, which is not only about Romanian food, but also about traditions. It has wonderful, beautiful pictures. So it's a wonderful Christmas gift if you're looking for one right now. Okay, so Irina, would you like to tell us a little bit about the traditions that your family had and that you gathered in this book around the end of the year?
Yes, of course. It's well, Christmas is very special in Romania, and actually the preparations for Christmas dinner start at the beginning of December or mid-December, when we have this tradition in the countryside to go and slaughter a pig so we can have what to put on the table, and that is an important moment in December. So even people in the city who have relatives in the countryside, they go and help them to prepare the pig. So what is interesting about that day is that at the end of that particular day, everybody who was involved gathered together around the table on what we call pomana porcului, which is a sort of a moment of appreciation and to say thank you for, you know, to the animal, and a moment of appreciation and something that makes a connection between, you know, how food ends up on our table, and you know, everyone is thankful for that. And that is very interesting because it happens all the time. It happens when you have a day like this, you end up with a celebration, basically. So this is what happens in the beginning of December. And you start to prepare all the charcuterie that later on Christmas Day, it will be, all that charcuterie will be the starters. So in my family, my uncle in Transylvania used to rear a pig for us. And every December, we would travel from Bucharest, so I don't know, 400, 500 kilometers south. We will travel from Bucharest to Transylvania to help our uncle to prepare the pig. And the philosophy was that is, you know, from nose to tail. So everything is turned into food or different dishes. And for us, you know, with my mom and my auntie and my sister and I and my dad, it kind of took 2 days or 3 days to prepare a whole pig and then to take it home in different products. So obviously we will take sausages back to Bucharest and we will air dry them on the balcony because we lived in a block of apartments, so there was no garden or there was no pantry or anything like that, or a loft where you can air dry something like this. So it was just outside on the balcony. And obviously we would prepare more products, which now we call in English, we call it charcuterie, but it's a French word, you know, means charcuterie, which is cooked meat. So we will make leberwurst, for instance, which is a liver sausage. We would make head cheese, which is toba, and it's kind of a terrine with, you know, with jelly. And we will make obviously sausages with a lot of paprika and pepper, so they're really spicy. And we will also make black pudding from blood, so it's called sângerete. So we will make a lot of products based on meat, and later on Christmas Day we will put this on the table. But actually in my family, and I don't think we were the only ones doing this, we love to celebrate Christmas Eve. So at midnight on Christmas Eve, we would have, the first time we will have the sausages and a shot of Zuiker, which is a plum brandy, which is really kind of really alcoholic. So it's similar to grape if you had that Italian drink, but we drink it at the beginning of the meal, not at the end like the Italians. So we would have this on Christmas Eve, a little bit of sausage, some bread, a shot of țuică, and we say Merry Christmas. And then, you know, we go back to bed. And in the morning, it's, you know, it's Christmas Day. And we used to start the day with eating cozonac. And cozonac is a brioche bread. It actually richer than a brioche because you get a lot of eggs and butter in there. And it's filled with walnuts and sultanas and rum. It's that is the filling. And I have it here in my book just to show you. This is the traditional, it looks like a babka if you're more familiar with the babka. This is the traditional cozonac. It looks like a loaf. And this is the traditional filling with the walnuts and the rum. And we would have this for breakfast. And then we start opening the gifts and everything. And then the whole day, basically, on Christmas Day is about eating, because we start with the starters and, you know, share different little plates. And the starters, as I said, are all these sausages and leberwurst and head cheese, but also pickles, fermented pickles, like the fermented green tomatoes. They are always on the table from the very beginning. And also, if you made any kind of fermented grapes or queens or watermelon, cantaloupe, this is the moment when you put them all on the table, because you eat them with the meat and with the lardo as well. We serve smoked lardo and some cheese and red onion raw, because it goes so well with fatty meat. So all these are on the table, and people just create their own plates. And later on, we have, depending on how the host built this the menu for Christmas, we can have a borscht. So sometimes we serve the borscht. Usually it's a pork borscht from the ribs. So you make a tarragon borscht with pork ribs.
Irina, can you tell everybody what a borscht is? Because I don't know a lot. I don't know if everybody knows.
A borscht is like it's a tangy broth. First of all, you ferment the borscht with bran and some cornmeal, and you use the liquid. You use that juice to add to a broth or to a stew to make it sour. So that is a borscht for us. It's not the Ukrainian beetroot soup. It's something that is fermented. So you add, which is obviously very healthy as well. So you add that to a broth. Whether it's vegetable broth or beet broth, it doesn't matter. It's a borscht if you use that fermented liquid. So we serve that after the starters. And then we serve sarmale, which is our national dish as well, and also the dish that it's a celebratory dish. We prepare it and serve it at Christmas and Easter. So these are the two important moments in our culinary life in a year when we prepare sarmale. And I'll go back.
Sarmale is stuffed cabbage. For our friends who don't know, stuffed cabbage or stuffed grape leaves.
I'll show you how to put it together. It's stuffed sauerkraut because it's fermented. It's fermented cabbage. Obviously, the actual dish is popular across Eastern Europe, but many countries prepare the dish with cabbage as a non-fermented cabbage. Well, we prepare it with fermented cabbage with sauerkraut. After we serve the sarmale, we serve the roast pork. So yes, there are loads of dishes, so that's why it takes the whole day to eat. We have the roast pork with potatoes. I know that in the UK, when I first came here in the first year, the first Christmas, I noticed that there were loads of side dishes like roasted carrots and parsnip, and then you have the Brussels sprouts, and then you have the roast potatoes. But at home in Romania, we only serve the roast potatoes. and the potatoes are cooked in the roasting tin with the meat. So if you can imagine at the end of the roasting time, it's kind of, they turn into confit potatoes because of all that fat from the pig and from the pork, and it's actually, they are delicious like that. So we serve the pork with the potatoes and again with the pickles. So the pickles will be there on the table from the very beginning, and then, you know, through the courses. So we serve that with the pickles, and the basic, this course is followed by coffee and again the kozonak, which is our babka. And just a little bit before I start to show you how to talk about sarmale, kozonak, it's a sort of brioche, as I said, but very rich. And there is a recipe from the 19th century that actually calls for 150 eggs to 4 kilograms of flour. So if you can imagine, it's just a huge quantity of eggs. So it's really a celebratory bread, basically. And there are a lot of superstitions around making kozonak. And it's about, like, you need to make it very early in the morning, you need to sieve the flour before the sunrise, you need to have to work on an empty stomach, you need to whisper around the house while the dough is rising, so don't make any noise. You don't have to be too happy if you see that the dough is rising and you hope that you're going to have a nice loaf of kozonak. Because if you are too happy and you praise it and you say, oh, well done you, then you will cast the evil eye and the actual loaf won't bake properly. So there are all sorts of superstitions. Don't put it in the draft as well. If the windows are open, obviously don't open any windows. Keep everything really warm. So there are loads of rules, you know. So when I moved to the UK, I kind of said, all right, I'm not going to bake like my mom used to make it from 4 o'clock in the morning, you know. It's not the case. I'm doing it because with me, with my pace and the way I bake, I really bake better in the evening. So I bake it in the evening and it works. So it's not about, dawn and anything like that. I think that traditionally, all these superstitions were related to some sort of reverence. You needed to be really like pure, you know, wear white and flour is white as well, and kind of everything was related in a way to kind of religious purity as well. So that is kozonak, and the recipe that I put in my book is kind of really easy to follow and doesn't have any of these superstitions in it. So don't worry about that. The only thing is don't put it in the draft, because you know that's valid for any bread.
Okay.
You know,
so I gather you guys have drafts in the UK too, not only.
This is with the draft is a Romanian thing, and
right. It is a cultural thing, right? I never heard of drafts in the US though, right?
We have draft here in the house because I live here, and wherever I go there is a draft, and I'm always aware of the draft, and I close the windows and I close the doors, and especially when I bake, I really find a really good place and a corner in the house where there is no draft.
Oh, okay. So Irina, can you please start showing us the sarmale so we can?
Yes, I'm running out of time.
Yes, right. That'd be lovely. Thank you so much for your introduction.
Sarmale,
if you have questions, you can ask. We'll have room for questions, and maybe as she prepares, please feel free to jump in and ask Irina questions of how she's making them.
Sarmale, first of all, they start with sauerkraut leaves. Whole sauerkraut leaves. So the way we ferment sauerkraut in Romania is the whole cabbage, not shredded cabbage like sauerkraut in Germany. So and we ferment the whole cabbage so we can separate the leaves and stuff them with minced pork. And then the filling is, I have it here, it's minced pork, rice, saute onions, you have an egg in here, and then you can obviously put salt and pepper, pepper is really good in here, and you can add some paprika as well to it, and also some herbs. And in Romania, we use a lot of winter savory, it's called. I don't have it here in the UK unless I grow it myself, but you have thyme. Thyme is a good substitute. Thyme and rosemary together will give you winter savory. So this is the filling here. And what we also need to do, obviously you can use a bigger pan than this. This is just a version for one, basically. But my mom used to make 200 sarmale, you know, for us. So she had kind of very large and deep dishes. So what you do, you first create a layer with the shredded sauerkraut here. And you also put some sliced onions in here. So you kind of make the bed first for it. So it can be really comfortable. The sarmale can be really comfortable. So you put some of the onion here as well, and you can put some thyme in here too. And also you can put bay leaf. This is really important. You need to put bay leaf in here as well. Juniper berries as well. So you put them in there. And also you need to put some caraway seeds. The caraway seeds are really amazing with sauerkraut. So this is how you prepare your first, this is your first layer. And we start to roll the sarmale. So obviously this is a very large cabbage leaf. So what you do, you first remove this very tough bit here, because otherwise you can't roll it. So you remove the middle. And because this is it's a large leaf, you kind of make 2 sarmale from one of it. So obviously you remove this. Don't put it in the bin, because you need to slice it, dice it, and put it back in the pan here. And what you do, you take one leaf like this, and you take a bit of the meat with the rice. You put it in the corner here. I hope you can see me. And then you lift this bit over, and you roll once, and then you bring the sides towards the middle. And then you roll. So in this way, the meat won't escape. It's like a nice tidy parcel. And you put this first layer in the pan. I'll just quickly make another one, because I made some anyway, so I have here to show you. So you put it here, you lift it in the corner, you roll once, and then you bring the sides towards the middle to close it really well, and then you roll. Mine are quite big, and I like them like this, but I know that mom, you know, was a matter of, you know, a question of pride to make really small sarmale, and you would really have 12 of this on a plate, like, you know. But these, the big ones, are quite nice. They will melt in your mouth anyway, because they will slow cook for ages. So what you do, you just put them around the dish like this, and then obviously if you have a bigger pan than I have here, you will create another layer, and you put more cabbage on top, and you just repeat the first layer. You put more cabbage on top, then you put more onion, and all of the rather, you know, you put the thyme and the bay leaves. And if you have a deeper dish than this, then you can actually put in here another layer of sarmale, and you put them, you stack them. And at the end, what you have some stock and some passata. What I did, I just combined them in one here. And at the end, after you build all your layers, you pour this on top of the sarmale. And you need a lid as well, and you put the lid on. And some people like to, at this stage, like to start the sarmale, start the cooking process on the stove, so on the top. And you keep shaking them like that, so they won't stick to the bottom. And you bring everything to a boil, and after that, you transfer them into the oven, and then you slow cook them. And at the end of the cooking process, you remove the lid and you reduce the sauce and you caramelize the sarmale on top. And I have made a little dish of sarmale here to show you. This is basically just for one, if you can imagine. And they just caramelize really nicely in the dish with the thyme on top. And what you do with this, you serve it with polenta, and you also serve this with sour cream. Put sour cream on top and some green pickled chilies. This is how we serve them. Oh. And with the polenta, really quickly, just to give you a ratio that always works, if you make a creamy polenta, there is this ratio, 1 part cornmeal to 4 parts liquid. This is how you start to cook it. And it will turn into a nice, good consistency of polenta. And to that, to add more flavor to that, you add butter and you add even, you know, sour cream or yogurt. Exactly like you would make mashed potatoes. In mashed potatoes, you will add milk and you would add butter and you will add cream or creme fraiche or sour cream. So you treat the polenta in the same way to add more flavor to it. And this is how you put everything together. And also, sorry, I forgot to show you. This is the brine from the sauerkraut. So don't throw it away. You can put it in the dish with the sarmale together with the stock and with the passata, so they can simmer together. And it will give a very nice tangy flavor and also saltiness as well. The saltiness from brine, not saltiness from salt. So it's just a bit different. So this is how we make sarmale. And as I said, Mom used to make 150, 200 for a family of 4, but we eat it like for 3-4 days. It's not just like we eat 200 sarmale in one day. And people, again, women usually prepare this dish. I used to help my mom and my sister used to help us. And, but people tend to make sarmale basically on the same day all the time. And you can, you know, walk along the street and you can smell it. And you can smell sarmale and smell the cozonac as well, because it's baked a few days ahead of Christmas. And it's just beautiful. It puts you in the mood to celebrate, because you can smell all these beautiful aromas. You know, you enter the block of apartments and you go, my neighbor makes sarmale. Then you go up like, I don't know, 5th floor and you go, my neighbor makes cozonac, so here you go.
Is this still your favorite family, holiday family dish now, sarmale, now that you are in the UK? Is your family helping?
Absolutely. That's why I ferment my own cabbage, you know, because you can't find it here unless you have a Polish deli shop. Yeah. And you can go there and buy it, but I don't have any. So there's nothing around here. Yeah. So this is part of my Christmas dinner together with pork. So since I moved to the UK, I think that I only once I had turkey. And it's because I couldn't influence, I couldn't persuade anyone to you know, give up turkey and eat pork. But then I started to make my own Christmas dinner, and it's pork, and it's going to be pork even like this Christmas. A sort of I'll make a sort of porchetta, a rolled pork belly, and I'll make a rub like pastrami style with all the spices in a pastrami. So that would be my Christmas dinner, together with everything else and all the sausages and everything. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Irina, so much for the lovely demo and stories about your family. This is really impressive, and I'm happy you are able to put this book together and keep it alive in your family in the UK. And so talking about sauerkraut, I'm wondering if Daisley is ready to do his own demo of the duck confit. So we have a combination again, like last time, of a Romanian recipe, I mean, from Irina's book, Rață pe varză, so duck on sauerkraut actually, and the duck this time is a French recipe, right? Daisley, is the duck confit. Is not the duck that we make in Romania. Is not. It's a little bit more complicated than that, right? So it's a combination.
And I'll tell you a little about it.
Okay, great. So if you're ready.
Yeah. So I saw. I'm ready. Yeah, I saw the recipe with the duck, and I love duck, and I hadn't really thought about duck with sauerkraut. And then I looked at it a little bit more closely, and I kind of started tasting it in my head, and I thought about all of the fattiness that's in the duck, and then the zippiness of sauerkraut would be a perfect combination. And so I love the recipe in the book because it's really straightforward, but the flavors come together in a really fantastic way. So the basic recipe, you have your duck legs, you rub them with a little oil and a little salt and pepper, and you bake them in the oven for about an hour and a half, an hour and a quarter, until they're done. And then meanwhile, the sauerkraut is prepared, and when the duck's finished, the sauerkraut goes in the pan and the ducks go back in the oven. And so two things I thought, well, let's, for the demonstration to sort of mix it up and make it interesting and reconfirm the sort of French connection, why don't we use the duck confit that we have here? So I think those duck legs from the Carpathia cookbook, probably from hens, probably Muscovy type hens. So we use what would be called, we use the duck legs that come from the foie gras duck, which is, those ducks get pretty big. And so the preparation is not dissimilar, it's just, it takes a little bit longer. The duck legs come in, they have loads of fat. We rub them with a special blend of house spices, in addition to loads of salt and garlic. And then they sit overnight to kind of cure a little bit and get the flavor in. And then the next day, we bake them at a really low temperature, about 220 degrees, for about 8 hours. And what that does, the tricky thing with duck, if you're not sure what you're doing, is that you're trying to get it cooked, but if you cook it too hard, it tightens up and it's sort of chewy. So the benefit of the slow cooking of the confit is that it breaks down all of that tissue, and it's super supple and really tasty. It's not red anymore, but it's super delicious. It's meat and it's fat, and that's why it's a great combination with the sauerkraut. A little bit about confit. When Irina was talking about the potatoes sort of being overwhelmed with fat in the cooking preparation, and she mentioned confit. Confit is basically slow cooking, typically in an animal's own fat, and you usually get it from fatty things like duck, geese, pigs, right? At the end of the summer, maybe harvest season, you've got a lot of these guys. You can only eat so much. Maybe you make a ham, you do something, different things with the pig. With the duck, you've got the breast, you've got the legs, but they have a lot of fat. So you render the fat. You rub the ducks with a little bit of salt and pepper, let them sit overnight, and then that fat, we let the ducks cook in that fat. And what's great about it is that, one, it's super easy. Two, it keeps for the winter because the fat performs like an oxygen block. And oxygen is what breaks things down. So you have your little crock, you put your legs, the duck breast in there, they're all cooked. You pour the fat on, and you can kind of keep it in the root cellar. I would recommend a refrigerator these days. It is 2020. But the fat seals it, and then when you either need a little snack, or if you have a lot, maybe you're having duck confit every weekend. But that's the story behind it. It's a fantastic sort of frugal peasant kind of thing that we now get to really enjoy. So I'm rambling all about that because I love duck. So I'll tell you about the preparation. I made this and tasted it last night, and I made it for the crew, and everybody loved it. I was very surprised at the intense amount of flavor between the sort of between the sauerkraut onion. It's pretty brilliant. So that's the duck. I told you about that. In the recipe, in Irina's recipe, you would have the ducks basically cooked, pretty much done. And so we have, let's see if you can see that. Those are, I'm just doing a couple duck legs. Yeah. These have been cooked already. We've put them in a little fat and some thyme, and they're going to pop in the oven. For those who ordered this item.
Oh, this is, it is delicious, Daisley. I have to admit, we already ate it right away, everybody. And my kids were just jumping around the house saying, Daisley is the best chef in the
that's so sweet. That's very nice to hear.
Yeah, and just so you know that
dip.
Rosie would like to know about the sauerkraut too, how you make the sauerkraut. Yeah.
Okay, we're getting there. So we're just going to pop this in the oven, and then I'm going to prepare the sauerkraut.
Excellent.
So I've got a hot oven right here. This guy's going to go in. We're just trying to get it a little brown and warm. It's already cooked through. Ultimately, you want it to cook to, 165 degrees to make sure it's safe, but that's really the only critical thing. So in the oven. So while that guy's working, then we'll do the sauerkraut preparation. We have some onion, which will be thinly sliced. We have the prepared sauerkraut, a little bit of tomato paste, some oil, a little bit of thyme, and a little bit of pepper. I think the most important thing is just having a nice thin slice on the onions. So I have those peeled already. And please feel free to ask any questions. I will try to keep my fingertips from out of the recipe.
Where do you get your sauerkraut? Are you particular about that, or do you have?
Well, I am. This was kind of a tough spot this year because normally we get our sauerkraut from Bavarian Meats, which has been in the market forever. Mm-hmm. And they shut down in March, and I think they're relocating. And because we used to do choucroute garni as a dish sometimes in the winter, with boiled and prepared pork products on top of sauerkraut. And we would get a really nice, probably 10-kilo can from those guys, and it was delicious. It's the best sauerkraut I've had, short of the time I had it at an Alsatian restaurant in Paris. But we couldn't get that, so I had to check with one of my local suppliers, and I thought had a pretty good batch. I think it was Pleasant Hills or something like that, but I ate a considerable amount to confirm that it was tasty. So we've got our onions. We're just going to cook the onions for a little bit, soften them up, not get too much color. There we go. I'm using a little oil. Certainly, if for some reason you made your own duck confit, you could use a little duck to just reinforce that. Okay, I think the recipe calls for a couple tablespoons, so that's getting nice and melted. So we're going to cook that just a little bit. See if my stove wants to play along. Very hot earlier. I'm adding just a little pepper. The sauerkraut has, of course, lots of salt in it. So I resisted adding any salt until the end, and I didn't really need to have any of that done. I really like the addition of the onions because it sort of breaks up the sort of total cabbage thing. Gives a little bit different texture and a different kind of sweetness.
Nice.
So we're going to pretend that our onions are kind of where we need them to be, and we're going to add the other ingredients. The recipe just says to add the sauerkraut, the tomato paste, and the chicken stock all at once. I'm going to add the tomato paste right away. I find that just letting it saute a little bit by itself kind of helps cook away some of that rawness of the tomato paste. Just a little browning. And now sauerkraut goes in. Now the chicken stock goes in. I find the chicken stock also helps to sort of break up the tomato paste that can be a little sticky and a little chunky. I don't think it has to be a workout like this. I think it's just a habit of being a line cook where you have to move, you have energy. Plus I had a lot of coffee earlier, so. Anyway, so you can see that it's mixed and bubbling away. Ideally, you want to cook this for about 10 or 15 minutes for it to get to the right place. We have some that's already prepared, so you can see it. It's a little bit tighter. It's really beautiful. It's this just lovely red orangey color, and it's so like it's kind of a happy color in the deep winter. So
Daily,
so let's say,
can you show it again and move it on the left so I can put the speaker view on you so we can see it better? Yeah. Move it a little bit to the left. No, the other way. Right then, to your right. Right, in the middle. Yeah, where Café Campagne. Yes, perfect. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I think my I have I don't know if my other image is not coming through. Oh, okay, yeah, there it is. But I suppose, that's a better.
Perfect. Yeah.
We can see it now.
We can see it better. Yeah. Because
So we have. We have the thin sliced onions, the sauerkraut, the tomato paste, and the little chicken stock.
Yeah.
So to put this together, let's say you've got your duck legs in, they're going along. Okay, so we pulled the duck legs out.
Beautiful.
And you can see they're nice and golden. I wish you could smell the duck fat. Duck fat is the most amazing thing. Oh my goodness.
Oh, nice.
So,
juicy and roasted well. Nice.
Exactly. So to put this together, this is what we would do. We're going to very carefully pull the duck legs out. And then we have loads of extra fat, and that's going to be a little too much. It'll overwhelm the sauerkraut, so we're going to pour a little out. So then we just have a tiny bit left. Now, the prepared sauerkraut, let me check something in the oven. Now I take the prepared sauerkraut.
Oh, that's not supposed to happen, right? The flambe sauerkraut.
No.
That's even
The
better.
flambe wasn't a
That's
part
even
of it.
better, yeah.
Caramelized sauerkraut.
That's
Yeah.
just a live fire.
Yeah.
So now our duck legs are going to go back on top of the sauerkraut that's been prepared, and then we go back into the oven to let it cook for another 10-15 minutes. What we're trying to do is to, of course, get it cooked through nicely, make sure the skin is nice and crispy, and that we get a little bit of caramelization on the sauerkraut, because that just that little additional caramelization makes it like super fantastic. So we're going back into the oven.
Oh.
We're going to give that just a couple minutes. So what I thought to myself was, you know, it's I like the way the sauerkraut looks as it browns in the pan. So I have one that it's finished, it's completely done, but I put it in serving dish. So if you have something that's a nice platter or gratin or something like that, it's great to put the sauerkraut in there. Once the duck has reached where you want, it's nice and crispy, put the sauerkraut in the pan with a little bit of the fat, put your duck legs on with your thyme, and pop it back in the oven. So I think we have a suggestion of using a little bit of green chili to sprinkle on, as well as, I know, a little thyme, but maybe Irina can mention the popularity of the chili. I was unfamiliar with that. So I'm just going to cut that up while we have the duck getting ready, and then we'll pull it out so you can see the finished product.
We kind of love green chilies at home, the very long ones, and we pickle them as well in vinegar. So I know it looks a bit like with a lot of sourness from the sauerkraut, we add even more sourness with the chili, with the pickled green chili. But they actually come together really well. It's a bit of spiciness and tanginess from the sauerkraut, and also from the onions, the way you said it, it adds a little sweetness to the dish. So they all come together really well. And also, again, you can use it, we can serve it with sour cream. So.
Yeah. Daisley, what do you think about the sour cream component? Because it's really vital in Romanian cuisine, and not so much here. But we pour sour cream on everything, basically.
Well, you know, the French like pouring creme fraiche on all sorts of things. It's a great component. I mean, it has a cooling quality. Literally, you know, something's hot, but also cooling for spice. It's you know, it makes you salivate. It seems to be the right thing, the right component. And I think particularly, I don't know if it's the food that's appropriate with certain climates, you know, that it seems to, I don't know, maybe in the winter, maybe you have it all the time, but it seems like a really nice lift. Sometimes if you have loads of meat or loads of one thing, and those little bits of, whether it's the pickle or the sour cream or any of that stuff, really lifts it up. It gives a little variety to something that might be a little monotonous, and if your mouth excited.
Yes, variety. That's a good word. It builds flavor. There are different flavors in the same dish. They come together. So
here we are. I hope you can. I think you can see that. So our duck legs are nice and crispy. We have a little bit of browning on the sauerkraut, and I had this at lunch with my team while we were here doing our takeaway program today, and everybody loved it. And I was, I don't know if surprised is the right word, because that would mean that my expectations weren't very high, but I was just really pleased with the combination. It's two pretty simple things, but they're magic together. And you think about duck, fatty meats, they're always looking for the right kind of company, a little sweet, a little texture, a little sour that helps, because it really, your palate gets overwhelmed with all of the fat, and the sauerkraut breaks through it. And the combination of the sauerkraut and the tomato, I see I just realized we had tomato in the last one, but I love that zippiness, that little flavor combination I adore. So I hope that makes sense. I hope it was easy for the folks who bought the item to heat it up and follow along. And we were just doing the promotion for this week, but we prepared quite a bit of sauerkraut. So I think that we'll keep it available for takeaway, because we always have the duck confit that we serve. So we'll maybe we'll call it the Romanian or the Carpathian duck or something like that. But it should be available on our takeaway and delivery menu for at least a couple more weeks.
Oh,
so
excellent. So you'll keep it through the holidays? Nice.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
okay.
absolutely.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you like the dish. It's kind of a traditional Romanian dish. Rață pe varză is kind of, you order it in restaurants, you make it at home. And there is another addition sometimes to this dish. We add noodles. So pasta with sauerkraut and duck. So again, it's a very good dish, especially in Transylvania, when we mix pasta with sauerkraut and we eat it like that. So thank you so much for making this dish.
I'm taking a bite of this now.
Oh, excellent.
It's just, look at that.
It's I have to admit, the duck is really, it melts in your mouth. And as you said, for me too, it was surprising. The combination of the two was really surprising. Surprisingly good.
I'm all alone here, so I'm going to just eat this all by myself. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Daisley, for showing us, for doing this demo for us. Thank you, Irina, for putting the recipe together. Excellent. Thank you all for watching. What do you think, Teodora? Are you ready to tell us a bit about what Romanian wine can go with this?
After all this, I want some food first. I want some food as well. So yes, after all this delicious food, I think it's time to talk a little bit also about Romanian wines. But before that, I just want to say why this book, Carpathia, which Irina wrote, is so special for me. So it's been for me over 17 years since I left Romania with one suitcase and $200 in my pocket. That's all I had. And I lived in different countries. I lived for over 5 years in Belgium, and then in United States. I lived in different places in the South and on the East Coast, and now on the Northwest. And after all these years, I still get once in a while homesick and nostalgic from home. And I think during Christmas time, it's the most difficult period for me, because that's when I remember my mom's food. And I used to cook with my mom and with my grandma when I was a kid. And then as I got teenager, I was more focused. I was very focused on school, and I went to college, and I would just go home to visit mom, and she was waiting for me with food. So it wasn't until I left Romania that I realized, oh, I wish I learned all these recipes, because they were the recipes that really reminded me of home. And many of them, even though I enjoy now cooking, many of them I didn't know how to make them. So when I discovered this summer Irina's book, I was super excited, because many of the recipes that are here in the book are recipes that my grandmother or my mom is making, or my grandmother used to make. And I was so proud when I started making my own Romanian traditional food. So I think I recommend it to everyone who wants to, who has ties with Romania or roots in Romania, to really get the book and try some of the recipes, and to everyone who wants to explore Romanian cuisine. So regarding the wines, when I started my own business, after many, many years working in finance, completely unrelated with wine, I knew I wanted to do something related with Romania. I wanted to build a business that will connect my two homes, Romania and United States, and in particular Washington State. And I realized that there is here in Washington State, there is a thriving wine industry, and there is a wine culture, and people enjoy local wines, but people enjoy also imported wines. Wines from Western Europe a lot, so France, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Germany. And I realized there is very little knowledge about Romanian wines, and very few people know that Romania is actually a big wine country, and we are the biggest producer of wine in Eastern Europe. And we are the 6th wine producer in Europe behind all the 5 countries that I mentioned and that are well known. So Italy, France, Spain, Portugal, and Germany. Still, we have one of the oldest wine traditions in the world. So then we are wondering why Romanian wine is not well known. It's because, of course, like we were during the communism, nothing was exported in the Western world, and we were under the Iron Curtain. So after revolution, a lot has been done in the wine industry, and doing my research, and I realized that there is so much potential for the Romanian wine to become a new trend in the wine industry. And I wanted to build also business and to give a voice to the Romanian wine right here in Washington State. Because if we enjoy wines from Italy and France and Spain, we can also enjoy wines from Romania. Especially since, and one of my main focus is also to advertise and to promote the indigenous grape varieties from Romania, because we have some of the oldest grape varieties in the world, and they're very little known about it. So with that said, when during the holidays, we do drink suica, but we also drink wines. And right, and red wine is very popular in Romania during holidays because, as Irina mentioned it, we eat a lot of pork during Christmas time, and then red wine goes really, really well with pork dishes, as well as sarmale, which is our snack. And so one of the grape varieties from indigenous grape varieties from Romania that is loved is Feteasca Neagră, which is actually one of the oldest grape varieties in the world. And Feteasca Neagră was cultivated by the indigenous people Dacians for thousands of years, way before the Romans came to conquer the land. So when people tell me, oh, we love Italian wines, I'm like, oh, you should also try Romanian wines because we have the common history. And we have also some of the old grape varieties that were cultivated in the area. So Feteasca Albă goes with a lot of traditional Romanian dishes, a lot of sausages that Irina mentioned at the beginning, sarmale, and it's very, very loved during Christmas time. And we drink it cold, but we also drink it hot. And that's the traditional warm, hot wine or mulled wine. That's the term that we prepare during Christmas. It's actually very, very traditional in Romania during Christmas, and it's red wine with spices. You put cinnamon, cloves, a little bit of vanilla, if you want also orange or lemon, and then you boil everything together, and it's such a perfect drink during Christmas time, especially when it's cold outside and you need something warm. So red varieties are very popular, but we also have a lot of white varieties. So for everyone who wants to be a little bit more cautious on what you are drinking and what you are eating and drinking, and you eat a little bit lighter, we have a lot of beloved Romanian white varieties. And Tămâioasa Românească is one of also a grape variety, white grape variety from Romania that actually goes really, really well with cozonac, with the
I have it here, and I have to admit it was so good. I usually like Muscato d'Asti. This is my favorite, and when I opened this one, I was like, oh my god, I forgot how good this is. It's really an excellent wine. And I'm picky, right? Am I picky, Teodora? I'm very picky with wines.
I'm happy. But yeah, and because you mentioned Muscat, actually, so it's believed that the origin of the Tămâioasa românească, so it's related with the Muscat family, and it was introduced in Romania in the antiquity by the Greeks, who used to come on the Black Sea to do commerce. And during antiquity, very interesting, so when they were doing trading, vine cutting was used as a currency. So they were exchanging goods, and they were paying, they were giving vine cuttings, and that's how Tămâioasa românească, which later became a Romanian grape variety, was introduced in Romania. So Tămâioasa românească is one of the white grape varieties, but we also have many others. Transylvania is very, very popular for white wines due to the cooler climate, and in Transylvania we find Fetiasca albă, Fetiasca regală, which are white wines. We have so many other white wines, and I wish I don't even have all of them in my portfolio, but I wish hopefully in the future I can bring more. Frâncușa, Grasa de Codnari, Șarpa. So many indigenous grape varieties that are very, very little known here, and my goal is to promote them. Also, I want to mention, I don't have it yet in my portfolio on the red wine, so Fetiasca Neagră, which is the most cultivated and the most well-known grape variety from Romania, and I call it an ambassador for the wine in Romania. But we also have Băbeasca Neagră, which is the red grape variety from Romania. And it's for us from Romania who knows about Ștefan cel Mare. So it's the beloved wine of Stephen the Great, of Ștefan cel Mare, and it's from the eastern part of Romania. So there is so much about wines. I know I have to talk about it. I know I have a very, very short time. But briefly, I do want to mention, so I have my wines in different locations in Seattle, as well as here where I live in Spokane. Most of my customers, so I don't sell directly to people, I sell to the industry, which would be restaurants and specialty places, wine bars. And most of my customers are small businesses as me that are struggling now due to the pandemic. So if you do look for wine during holidays, instead of buying from bigger retailers, I recommend you to support local businesses. And I know Otilia shared the locations where we can find the wines. I just want to mention briefly some, because where you can guys order. So Connect Lounge in Seattle Belltown is Julia is the owner of Connect Lounge, and she's also from Romania. And she's one of the businesses that has been really also struggling during the pandemic, because she had to shut down. So she's doing Romanian wine takeaway during holidays. And she has special packages of Romanian wine. So if you are interested, you can place the order through email, and she will answer. So you have to send her Lounge an email, and that's how she takes the orders. The Barrel Chief, which is in Fremont, is also a wine bar impacted strongly by the pandemic, and they've been supporting our Romanian Film Festival. So they promoted the festival, and they made their wine club Romanian in November, and they still carry Romanian wines. I have a new customer in Ballard. I don't know if anyone is from Ballard, but Portalis Wine Shop will have Romanian wine since December 17. And this is a special customer from me, because they are also the owner, who is from Germany. Also, they are importing wines from different countries in Europe. So it took me, but they don't have Romanian wine. So it took me a long time to convince them to have actually Romanian wines. And it proved that Romanian wines is quality. So they are happy to carry Romanian wines, and they are actually making their January wine cup Romanian. So that proves that our wines are appreciated. Queen Anne, I have wine outlet, which they are doing also shipping. So if you don't want to go and pick it up and you can order it by phone. And wine outlet is also my neighbor. My warehouse is also in Queen Anne, and the first customer from Seattle. So that's in Queen Anne. And then we have in Kirkland various locations. The Grape Choice in Kirkland, it's in Kirkland Plaza. I have European Deli Produce in Kirkland. In Redmond, the World of Wines, and the owner from the World of Wines has traveled to Romania, and he was a judge at a wine competition in Romania.
Oh, wow.
I was very, very excited to have Romanian wines here. And Capitol Hill, we have the European wine selection. West Seattle, I have West Seattle Cellar. So, and hopefully growing with baby steps, but we are growing. I should probably also mention, so my business became active last October, so a little bit over a year ago, and 4 months and a half into operation, the pandemic started. So I'm very happy that despite of all the difficult circumstances, we are moving forward and our wine is appreciated.
Teodora, we have some questions from Rose. Rosie, she wants to know if you distribute Moldovan wines, since they're known for the wine. I mean,
Yes,
and also if you have a distributor in Issaquah.
Okay, not Moldovan yet, not Moldovan wines. That would be my long-term project if things goes well, and I can also explore Moldova and maybe other Eastern European countries. I do want to keep on the Eastern Europe, because that's what my goal is, also to give a voice to Eastern European wine. So hopefully in the future, as I said, I only started a little bit over a year, becoming my business active a little bit over a year ago. There is a lots of work behind running an import and distribution beverage company. But maybe in the future, I would like to carry Moldovan wines. Regarding Issaquah, so I am currently in discussions with a customer from Issaquah. So we are in. They've tasted the wines and they want to have it. So we might be there before Christmas if somehow we can get your contact details, or if Otilia has your contact details, I can let you know if we have it before Christmas, because I am in discussions and we were hoping to get there before Christmas. There is a lot of paperwork involved, but hopefully we'll be in Issaquah as well.
Thank you so much, Teodora. Do you have questions for anybody tonight? For Irina, for Teodora, for Daisley? Anything about what we discussed, comments, feedback? So go ahead. We do have a little bit of time till 7, so 10 more minutes if we allowed like an hour and a half. So go ahead.
I would first of all like to thank you all. Daisley, it was fantastic. I've never ever imagined this combination, and the duck was just amazing. And that was my first thought. I want to have it for Christmas. So I'm very happy to hear that you are going to have this dish, because what I did today was to put half of it in the freezer and eat the other half. To save it for Christmas. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
On a different note,
happy to hear that.
Yeah, I'd like to say that adding sour cream is popular in several parts of Romania, but not in Dobroja, where I come from, or the south of Moldova, where my mother comes from Focșani. So they do not combine sarmale or sauerkraut or any kind of cabbage with sour. And for us, it's the Transylvanian way.
I see.
Yeah.
So you don't eat yogurt or sour cream at all, or just not?
No, we do, but not
but not with sauerkraut.
But
Yeah,
even in Moldova, we basically roll everything in sour cream. In Bukovina, if you go in Bukovina, you can die. I almost died of indigestion because I was at a bed and breakfast and I was pregnant, and they fed me sour cream on everything. And I just remember I was like, oh my God, but it was delicious. But everything came with sour cream, a thick, organic, awesome sour cream, anything, the dessert, everything was covered in sour cream.
I would say that probably because there are not so many cows in Dobroja. In Dobroja, you have sheep, and then sour cream is not that popular, traditionally speaking. I mean, the old way of living there. But it's interesting, the combination, and I've grown to like it. And but my parents would not do that combination.
There is a placinta, like a pie, placinta dobrojana, which is with kind of cheese curd and some sour cream in it, and the whole pastry is a sort of filo pastry.
Yeah, I make it myself, and yes, it's true. We use a lot of sour cream, but traditionally I think they used yogurt in that pie. Yeah, you can.
You're very close to Bulgaria, and Bulgarians are known for kefir, for all that. So,
and Bulgarian yogurt, yeah.
But thank you guys. It was wonderful.
Well, thank you.
You brought a festive touch to our holidays,
Definitely.
Any other questions, comments from anybody? No?
No,
okay.
They liked it.
They liked it, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, so there is a commentary in Romanian that says that thank you so much for the cooking demos and ideas, and because you reminded us of the goodies that we used to have at home, and now they want to get ready and go cook the recipes. So I don't know. I mean, duck on cabbage is it something traditional that we cook for Christmas, or just it is festive? It is a festive dish, right? But I feel like it's more like maybe like a New Year's dish than Christmas.
It could be, yes, yeah. It is a New Year, could be New Year dish, but it's also throughout the year. It's a popular dish. Varză, Rață pe varză. So, but traditionally Christmas is for pork, so, but obviously now people can choose to cook whatever, they prefer.
Oh, we do have a question from Alina, who wants to know, where can we find duck to cook? Daisley, where do you get your duck?
I think a good grocery store. I'm sure you can get it at, you can come down to the market and get it from Don and Joe's. I know they carry duck, but you can also get it. I'm sure you can get it from Whole Foods or Met Market. I mean, I think I've seen duck at QFC. Just give them a ring and see what they have. I'm sure you can also get it online. There's a company called D'Artagnan Foods in New York, and they have all kinds of fantastic meats. The woman who runs it is pretty extraordinary. I've just been a fan of hers for a long time, but they have everything. And so they have great duck. Ours comes from the Hudson Valley Foie Gras Company in New York, in Hudson Valley. I'm not sure if they still, I don't know if they do retail. But the ones that we sent out were the big, as I said, the big foie gras duck. So the legs are bigger and there's more fat and they're kind of luscious. But they also have the Muscovy hams. But I feel like it's much more widely available than maybe it had been. Certainly at Asian grocery stores, there's always duck.
Yeah. We also ordered, I have to say, Daisley, we ordered the pork rillettes, They're fantastic. Oh, the kids love it.
With the foie gras on top?
Yes. Do you imagine kids eating that? I mean, they'll just
That's
devour
so
it.
fantastic.
So it's like, we're used to it, so we like it. But the kids, they're kind of fussy. They don't like this type of food. But they
I'm so happy to hear that.
yeah,
We did a kind of a high and low, because we have Riette. We serve it at happy hour. You come in, you get a little lion's head crock of Riette with mustard and pickles and crostini. And but I had made this salt cured foie gras where you clean it and bury it in kosher salt for 4 or 5 days. And normally we just shave it on things. We shave it on beans and arugula and stuff. And I thought, wow, what about a little high-low with the super peasanty Riette and then some shaved foie gras on top. And so I was tickled and pleased when I saw the team putting your order together that you had that. Not everybody.
we will get it again. This is for us the top festive, so this is Christmas food and New Year's,
Good.
Yet and
That's great to
the
hear.
duck, if you make it again, we're so happy. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you for adding something to my repertoire because I love that duck. I love that duck. I love that combination with the sauerkraut and the tomato. It's super brilliant. And ours, it's served usually with potatoes, which you need a nice glass of wine to get through that.
Yeah.
But that the sauerkraut and tomato, it's like a nice warm hug. It's got everything going on there, and then you have some wine for company. But that combination is just delicious. So
yeah.
I might share some with my wife. I don't know.
Yeah, I do remember. My mom was also a great cook. So if I were as great, as Irina, I would put together her recipes. She was amazing. She would cook for days just to have a party. And for Christmas, we had this dark, like a room, but nobody lived in. It was cold, and it was filled with food. She would just fill it up with food, with cookies and foods that we will eat for Christmas only. And she would make rabbit with micare rece with olives on the top of, it was a cold dish with lemon and lots of onions and it was rabbit. And I don't know.
Cook rabbit here. I cook rabbit here. Yes.
You cook rabbit here? I know.
Yes, I do the same.
Yeah.
When I was little, I didn't like lamb. I couldn't eat lamb. I didn't like the smell of lamb. So mom always cooked rabbit. So for me, mom cooked rabbit for Easter.
The French eat rabbit, right?
Oh, yeah. All kinds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rabbit
Do you
with
ever
prunes,
offer
rabbit with
rabbit?
olives.
Yeah.
We have it for a little while. Sometimes it's a little challenge to get it consistently. We used to actually make a Riette out of it, which is kind of weird. But there's always lots of the front legs, and so we slow cook that and flavor it up and pack it with a little fat, and put that on a little crostini. Happy time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like the flavor of the rest of that. The legs are, I don't know, kind of like chicken after a while because it's just a big hunk of white meat. But the forelegs I think are super tasty. They're fun things to do.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I do have a question for Teodora. So Teodora, what would be the best one that would go with this, with the duck and the cabbage?
Also red wine.
Red wine, you think?
I recommend also fetiasca neagră or a red blend with fetiasca neagră.
Yeah.
So
Because I think the white would go well too. I don't know. I'm so surprised by tămâiasă,
we can do some innovative pairing.
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought, yeah.
With duck, I normally, how do you pair it, Daisy, at your restaurant? I normally, with duck meat, I pair red wine.
We usually encourage people to have red wine with it. We have our house wine. We call it an anchovy rouge. There's a long story. It's based on a painting that we have. But that is a Rhone blend that we have. It's available online, and that marries very, very well with the duck. I think it's super tasty. We suggest it with the duck, with also our cassoulet, which is also rich with pork and lamb. And sausage and bacon and all of
I'll
that.
be happy to do some pairing with Petiasca Neagră as well.
Yeah.
Open for that. I'm open for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think because of the brightness of the sauerkraut, and the fact that the duck is cooked and it's not like bloody, you know, I think that white wine would actually a kind of a robust,
Yeah.
you know,
That's why
white
I
wine
thought.
would work well
Yeah.
with it as well.
Yeah. And also regarding white wine, Romania exports a lot to Asian countries. It goes so well with many Asian cuisine. So and seafood. I know in Seattle we also have we eat a lot of seafood. So I also recommend trying tămâioasa românească with a really good dish. As traditional Romanians, I like fetiasca albă with salată de vinete with eggplant caviar.
Yes.
I do that pairing all the time. I like to prepare a lot of ciorba as well with chicken, like a lot of soups that have chicken, and then I pair it with a nice tămâioasă românească or fetiasca albă or fetiasca regală. Salata de bœuf, the traditional salata de bœuf, if you make it with chicken, then it goes also very well with the white one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight and for spending a little bit of time with us. And thank you, Irina, for taking us to virtual journeys to Romania through your lovely book on Romanian cuisine and traditions. Yes.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Teodora, for bringing Romanian wines closer to our homes, and they're really lovely, good wines. And I would, I was happy to discover them again. And thank you, Daisley, for cooking recipes from Carpathia.
Yes.
For bringing a little bit of Romanian touch. We are a francophone country, by the way. We're part of the francophonie. So yeah. So thank you for. For exploring this francophone connection with us. And what can I say? So have a lovely end of the year. Thank you for participating. We have the recording. We post it on social media, so please share so anybody can hear more about these lovely products and small businesses and Irina's book. So, all right.
Thank you. Well, have a lovely Christmas, everyone.
You too. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.
Merry
Bye.
Christmas.